I first, okay, we all, okay, all right, anyway. I'm aware that we're being videotaped, so welcome everybody. And you're back.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were getting the tapes?
I only missed 1 week and you gave me the CD, the DVD for it. I was here last week.
There's somebody else that was picking them up at the office and said they would be here today, but she was, I'm sorry, I was confusing you with something. Okay. Yeah, the symbols, I first really encountered them with watching the talks of Eckhart Tolle. Because has anybody ever seen or listened to Eckhart Tolle? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he will start his, it's a little, looks like, he doesn't look like a master or guru or anything, he looks like an accountant, which is what he was. You know, so, it's very non-threatening. But he always starts with with those symbols right there. And boom, and you just go, right? And we talked about this last week. You get this wah, 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 wah. Could y'all hear that? No. It was an oscillation. Wah, 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 wah. It's like chasing, it reminds me of in the spring when you're driving along the roads and you see little dogwood trees in the woods that are kind of like bits of lace, like the end of a bridal gown, but the bride is running off into the woods. So the wah, 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 wah. It's like going into the silence, so you follow that. Oh, wah, 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 wah. So another analogy I had to meditation was that the wah, 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 wah is our on-off thinking. Either or, on, off, on, off. And the wah, 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 on, off, goes into silence. So the meditation is a lot like this. Thinking is on, off. Thinking this, not thinking that, thinking this, should I think that? No, I shouldn't think that. Why am I thinking that? Oh no, here comes that thought again. Wow, 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 right? So the presence, or as Tolle calls the now, or the present moment, or stillness, is the room. And the on-off, but the room stays the same. The on-off is going wah, 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 right? So the practice of meditation is sitting and allowing the wah, 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 wah to fade off so that you become the room. You all get that image? It's a good analogy because the room is not thinking. The room is awareness before awareness starts thinking about this or that. So the way consciousness is working, and the Buddhism has a map for this, but the West doesn't. So that consciousness, awareness, when it thinks, uses language. So thinking is language. So if you're Italian, you're probably thinking Italian. So we think in the language of our culture. But thinking requires language. Helen Keller wrote that before she discovered language, she was in a dream zone, non-existence. And her teacher held her hand under some water, and with this hand she wrote water, the symbol for water. Water, water, boom, boom. And then the light went off. And suddenly Helen Keller had a soul. She now, and that was she began to build on that. That was like the Big Bang. Well, that was like the word in the Bible, the original word. So that was the original word was the connection between this like the Garden of Eden before Adam named it, would be just everything. I mean, we don't know what anything is, but we know it's there. So then, I don't know what this is. Table, 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 like a child. What is that? Table. What is this? Table. What is that? So the child creates the language, right? And builds the operating system of the thinking mind. And the thinking mind works in an on-off logic. But unless we have a spiritual practice of meditation, we don't know how to turn the damn thing off. So it just runs all the time. And when we're stressed, it goes crazy with the monologue. When we have a thorn we can't get rid of, thought just keeps running around it and around it and around it, trying to solve the pain of this unfinished business, what somebody did to me, or what I did to somebody, or what I should have done, or what they didn't do, or what I'm going to do, or why did I do that? All this, and so thought will just run around it, trying to heal it, but it can't. So then the on and off thing becomes stress, so forth. Okay, so remember that image of the room and thinking being an on-off thing. And so I wrote some things up on here, and so like I said, this I always look at these talks kind of like the TV program of MacGyver, if you remember that. And MacGyver always just used what he had at hand to get out of a fix. It's a metaphor for working with the world you've got. So part of this practice is to work with the world we've got. And for me, since I don't have an exciting life, I live a very mundane life, so little things mean a lot. So that's all I got. Carrying wood, chopping wood, chopping water, carrying water, chopping wood, cleaning the toilet, washing dishes, So how we're going to integrate, so looking at MacGyver, what I want to do is integrate today. The bathroom is a source of inspiration. An iron cow on a 100-foot pole gives birth to a calf. And rain. And one more thing, because last week we talked about the noble truths of Buddha when he came out of his awakening. His first talk is called in the Deer Park, which was a park nearby, was on the Four Noble Truths, and we talked about the first three, and the fourth one is more of a how-to list, but what we're really working with is the first three. And let me, if you recall this word here, dukkha. So I need to bring that back in today so we can refresh on that. Is that off the screen?
Well, I positioned the camera because I thought you would never reach across way over the wastebasket.
How about this?
The wastebasket, that's much better. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just cross that off.
That's the boundary.
Okay, good. I won't go past that one. Okay, dukkha, which means the suffering of the on-off light switch, to put it in context, okay? So the three noble truths want to get you to the room. So it's okay that you have a light switch. We need light stuff, but we don't want it just to be going all the time. So we want, see the light switch on and off is not going to give you any inspiration. So what we're looking for is insight. So if the light switch is going on and off, we're not going to get any insight, because the insight is only going to come from the room. You see, so we got to we have to be the room in order for the insight to come up, and we can't solve our problems and evolve our consciousness unless we have insight. understanding unless we see, right? So insight means seeing into reality as it is, and that's understanding of reality as it is, and reality has no problem. There's no problem in reality. The problem is what we apply to it. See, so reality is one, and problem is two. How do you get to, you see, if you have one, there's no problem. There's no contact, there's no conflict in one. There's conflict when you have two. See? So on-off switch is two. There's no conflict in the room. See, so these, we're kind of working with these different metaphors. So, okay. So let's start with the bathroom is a source of inspiration. This came to me this yesterday morning. I think I was peeing. Like I said, I have to use what I got. And I noticed in the toilet that it wasn't clean. So in my hand, I talk a lot about my marriage and relationship because, like I said, that's all I got. So and my wife isn't here, so I can. I don't think she even listens to my classes, so I feel like I can. But I'll probably get caught anyway. So anyway, the thought, I'm looking down there and I see the toilet hasn't been cleaned. So I'm kind of like in our job description, marriages have job descriptions. You're going to do this, you're going to do that. And you kind of like, so mine has always been, I'm a better cleaner than she is. She's a better cook. But given that, the thought comes up. I mean, I'm standing there, and this thought happens. She never cleans the toilet, even though she's probably looked at it. She never cleans the toilet. But what happened was that there was this tremendous space between my awareness, which is the room, and the thought. So it was kind of like, the thought was kind of like the toilets over here in the elementary school. They're way down there. If you've noticed, they're little. Anyway, so the thought was like there was a space, you see, between the thought, she never cleans the toilet, right? So it was kind of like way down there. And my awareness was, my room awareness was here, you see. So now in the past, I would identify with that thought, and that thought would have brought a story with it, like, I have to do all the work. She doesn't do it, why doesn't she, yada, yada, and so that would build up. Then there would be resentment, and there would be complaint, and then I might say something, why don't you clean the toilet sometime? And then she, of course, would be defensive, and then we would have a row, and on and on. All because, tracing it back, I identified with the thought and said, I'm thinking that my wife should clean the toilets, you see. In other words, this is an on-off switch happening. But the point is that the room was not disturbed by it. So my interest then became not in the fact that my wife didn't clean the toilet, but the interest was in the thought. And see now, that became food for the class, you see. So now that particular thought became a seed idea that is positive, hopefully, rather than creating a thorn in the marriage. It's just gone. So, one of the big points in awakening in this path, I guess you could call it in Zen. I lean towards Zen, not in the sense that I go to a Zen monastery and do any rituals or anything, but the Buddhism of Zen is like extracted ghee, or what is it when you extract something and just have the pure essence of something, and I don't know, I guess in cooking you do a lot of that, but what in cooking could you boil or thing in order to extract the pure essence of it? So you just have, we do this all the time, but it's extracting the essence. Alchemy was all about this. Alchemy was taking base metal, which was the stuff, and finding a formula that would create gold out of it, you see. So just a little side thing here, Zen is kind of like the gold of Buddhism because it's very pure in that it's just interested in having insight. How do you get insight? No other thing is necessary. So in Zen, these awakening insights are called Satori, or Kensho. And it can be either little teeny ones or big ones, But it's the idea of having an insight, a eureka. In a eureka moment is when the light switch, on, off, is this or this, either or, what should I do, I should do that, I should do this, can't do that, can't do this, either or, back and forth. When suddenly the whole thing just goes wow, 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 wow. And the room comes on, and when the room comes on, it's understanding, or aha, or I see. And so it's usually referred to as the light of understanding or awareness, but it's in mystical experiences, it's light. People see light, but in practical experience, you see it's I see. So this seeing, one of the first Satoris in this practice is seeing that you're not your thought, which is what I just described in the toilet insight. I was not my thought. There was a thought, and I could see it, but I was not the thought. And I remember when that first happened to me, I guess I was back in my 20s. And it was a big, big wow, because it's a shock. Because we're conditioned to believing that we're our thought. Descartes started the whole thing going when at the end of the Middle Ages, in the 1600s, I guess, he was, and the church was falling apart because the Middle Ages church gave people certainty. There was only one interpretation of reality, the Bible, the Pope, the church, the whole thing. That was it, So there was a lot of certainty. So when this began to crack, and times were in change, Descartes was really through everybody was, if you were a scientist or had that awakened mind, you wanted to find what was certain, what could you depend on, since you couldn't depend on the church. So he searched for something that he could depend on. He came up with. He got down to rock bottom. Where can I go that I believe in? I depend on that. This is certain that I can build the whole edifice on. You see, and so he came up with, I think, therefore I am. So thinking was the certification that he could not doubt. I can't doubt that I think. You see, he couldn't go, that was the one thing he couldn't doubt. So then he built it on that. Buddha went one step further. Because what Descartes built, Descartes was the foundation for the scientific logic and scientific method, which is all built on distinct and clear ideas. You see, so it's built on ideas. But the ideas is the on-off switch. So he didn't go to the room. So Buddha went through the logic and the systems of his time and found out that the on-off switch was not satisfying. He wanted to find the room that was prior to the on-off switch. What is prior to thinking? Around my wife should be doing. Why didn't my wife clean the toilet? You see, that was a thought right there. But my awareness was not thought. I mean, I wasn't thinking about the thought. I was aware, my awareness was still, my still awareness was aware of the thought, you see. So the awareness is prior to thinking. However, in our culture, we're conditioned to believe there is nothing beyond thinking and I am thought. And of course, thought generates a me who thinks, right? And me, who is a thinker, is going to get turned off by death. So now the thinking, the thought, fears death as the end of thinking. But the room doesn't die. Awareness, see, is prior to thinking. Awareness is prior to death. So, but from thinking, awareness is death. If you identify with thinking, with the on-off switch, you see, if that's who I am, on-off switch, then the room is the unknown, and we don't want to go there. We can't go there because the on-off switch can't go to the room. Do y'all follow this analogy? Because I'm just coming up with it today, and I'm trying to work it out with you. I haven't been here before. Okay, so, but see, the room is absolutely still. There's no movement in the room. The movement is in the on-off switch, you see. But the on-off switch can't happen without a room. So thinking can't happen, cannot be without awareness that's prior to thinking. But our Western map has no map for this awareness, because the Western map of reality uses the logic of on and off. Something either is or it isn't. This is either a marker, this is a marker and it's not something else, right? I mean, this is this, the table's a table, and that's it. And then the table is either here or it's not here, it's on off. Or we have either or. Which do you want, this one or this one? On off. My wife drives me crazy. I laugh at it. I mean, all the stuff that I do in my marriage and my relationship has become source for my humor. So one of the things she does is that she will say, would you like some apple pie for dinner? Yes. Or would you rather have some ice cream or some blueberries? Now I got the wah, 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 wah. I wanted the one, the apple pie, but immediately there'll be, well, would you rather have ice cream or blueberries or apple pie? So this puts me into an oscillation, wah, wah, either or. Well, I don't know, do I want this or do I want that? So before it was the one, and now I got two, and I don't know which, you know, and we can see these little things, and we can call these wah, 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 dukkha's. By dukkha means the suffering of duality. And the suffering of duality is when you have an either or choice, and each one has equal value, so you don't know which is the better choice, because each has its own logic. And we all get into these dukkhas in life when we have these, well, do I like this guy or that guy? Well, if I write a list, or this one here, or do I want this job or that job? Well, I write the pros, and then I write the pros, the cons, and I make a list, and which one has more weight, you see. But when they're both, if one of them is really great and one of them is crap, we don't have any problem. But when they're like, when the seesaw is like this or like that, no problem. But when the seesaw is like this, now we got a dukkha. So now if I choose that, the other one, well, maybe you should do that. But, all right, I'll go there, but then this one says, well, no, this one has this, so okay, there, and this one calls. So now you're going into wah. So you go to a friend and say, what should I do? Or you go to a therapist, you know, or you have a panic attack, or you become a schizophrenic. I mean, it can go, you know, the split can go like that, you see. So it all starts, you know, with this little crack where you have a either or, an on-off switch, and you can't find the one. So there's two, but you know there's one, but you can't find it because the two have equal value. And that creates the wah, which we experience as panic or stress. So, I'm going to turn that air conditioner on. I think it was pretty cool in here, but now it's, at least I'm getting maybe it's just a lot of hot air. But anyway, getting back to this, before we leave this, you know, of course there's the famous Archimedes thing in the bathtub, where he was given the chore of figuring out the weight of the king's crown, and he couldn't figure out the weight of the crown, the gold, unless he destroyed the crown. So he had an either or. To get the weight, I have to destroy the crown. Can't destroy the crown, can't get the weight. What do? He quit, gave up, took a bath, saw that when he got in the tub, the water, his body displaced the water. Eureka! All I have to do is measure the water that my body displaced, and I have the volume. People are always talking about, you know, in the showers, you know, insight comes to the shower. And I got to thinking today, is that the bathroom is the place where the means and the end come together. In other words, there's no meaning, there's no purpose in the bathroom outside of the bathroom. We go to the bathroom to get clean or to eliminate. I mean, and there's always an aha when you do it. So there's always a relief, you know, a letting go. So the bathroom becomes a place where we let go. It's private. We let go. We go, ah. And so in that, ah, there is a space, the on-off switch stops, and insight comes up. So I know myself, I always get insights in the bathroom. A lot of people report it. So this, and I got to thinking about it in terms of the context of this, you know, is that the bathroom is the one place in the house where there is no ulterior reason for it to be there, and it's a place where we let go, and meditation is all about letting go, so that we release the tension of the light switch struggle on and off. Okay, let's talk about rain and dukkha. Does recognize have a Z, or now that I look at it, does it recognize the Z?
Z.
Recognize, allow, inquire, R-A-I-N. This is a Zen Buddhist formula for the practice of being mindful. So what I described in the bathroom insight, and this is something I want you all, particularly this week as we're thinking about it, is to apply this to your everyday mind, because it's very applicable, but there has to be intention, and you have to want to do it. If you don't want to do it, you won't do it. So if you have some dukkha in your life, then instead of blaming others for it or just settling in and saying that's just the way it is, I just got to buck up and do it and suffer with it, if you really understand the Three Noble Truths, there is dukkha, there's a cause, and there's release from it, then that awakens intention. So when intention is awakened, then you are basically on the lookout for opportunities to practice rain. So let's see how we practice rain. Well, getting back to the bathroom, because that's really, this is another one I want to bring up, and we'll stay with the bathroom right now, and that is when you are going along, washing dishes, walking, store, whatever, and you notice thinking that is, it has a pain in it. So when I noticed the thought that said, why isn't my wife, why doesn't she clean the toilet sometimes? She saw it, she uses it. There's an inherent pain in that. My pain, with my pain that I feel, the thought was that, the story of the thought was that I'm being not appreciated, okay? But you know, the thought has a story to it. And that story has my whole life in it. You see, it's not just, it didn't just get invented, you see. So it's the whole, you know, the tiny grain of sand holds the whole beach. So every tiny little, yeah.
I don't know if I should say anything, but I just wanted to point out that possibly she doesn't clean the toilet because she doesn't have to look at it.
True. Women have that advantage.
Yeah, and it may,
Okay.
I don't know if that goes with what you're saying.
Yeah, it does, because it makes me laugh. Yeah, men have to stare at the thing, right? Yeah, so the practice kicks in when you first you recognize or notice a rub. Now, the small ones are the best because this was a very small, teeny little rub, you see. I mean, this was not a major catastrophe or pain or something. It was something very subtle, so subtle that you just bypass it. You don't even notice it. It just goes on all the time. Little resentments, little grievances, little, why me? Or why do I have to do this? Or he did that? Or this, the person at the Walmart person wasn't polite. We hear people talking about, this is what people talk about. You listen to conversations. What they do is exchange rubs. It's like a massage therapy. You know, I'll rub, you know, you listen to my rub and then I'll listen to your rub. So you rub each other and say, oh yeah, you were right, they shouldn't have said that to you, and oh yeah, you've been a really good person. You know, yada yada, oh, I feel so much better, and now I'll listen to yours, right? And I'll affirm you. So these are like group massages, right? So it's all about the rub. You see, these rubs are blamed on the world or other people. So they just fester there. So what we're interested in is getting rid of the rub. And you can't get rid of the rub by blaming it on the other person and then getting rid of the other person. Or hurting them, or doing whatever you do. There's a lot of strategies, you see. So the recognizing of the nub is the first noble truth, and there is dukkha. So when you say there is the rub, there is the dukkha, you're just seeing it, but you're not doing anything with it. Big difference. As soon as we have a rub, our conditioning is that immediately we go to the next step, which is to find a cause for the rub, which is somebody or something, or myself, somebody's to blame. And then I want to get rid of the cause, which is a logical thing. When you identify the cause, you want to get rid of it. Now you got to get rid of somebody or something or some situation, you see. The traffic, or go another route, or something. So, but this, you see, redirects your attention, so there's a gap where you allow. Okay, so allow is the next step. You recognize it and you allow it to be. There it is. I'm not going to do anything with it, because I'm the wrong. This is the light switch, on, off, on, off, on, off. I'm the wrong. So I just sit with it. That's what meditation is. You just sit with it. So you allow it to be. And then the next, when you allow, you become curious about it. You see, so now you are curious about not why the wife didn't clean the toilet, but about the story that the rub holds. I can see my whole life in that. I can see my whole relationship in that little thing right there. The whole world is reflected in a dewdrop. The whole universe is reflected in it. And Zen, you say, well, there's a puddle of water on the floor, and the moon is reflected in it. The whole sky is reflected in it. So in that little bitty rub, you see, my whole life is in it. And the fourth part is non-identification. But this really, the non-identification means I'm not that thought. So this is really necessary for all. You can't recognize it unless you're not the thought. See, if you're totally identified with your thinking, you're not going to recognize thinking as thinking. See, if I'm totally identified with my thought, I can't see what I'm in. I can only see something if I'm outside of it. I mean, I can't. If I'm inside this, I'm inside this glass, this cup here. I can't see the cup because I'm in it. I can only see it when I'm outside of it. Y'all get that? So if I identify with thought, I can't see thought because I am thought. I'm Descartes. I think, therefore I am. Sounds like a duck in here. What is that? Y'all, are we following here? Because I'm exploring. I mean, I'm exploring this here together with us. Yeah.
It occurs to me that there's actually like a step between recognize and allow of acceptance. You
Allow and
recognize
accept.
it, you accept it, and then you allow it.
Allow and accept the same thing.
He could have put accept.
Well,
If I accept something, I allow it to be there.
Sit in your shoe.
In the Bible, or Jesus in Christianity would be forgiveness. Would be another way of saying allow. But it's not, allow doesn't say you forgive the dukkha for its sin. It's not that at all. It's just like, you have the right to be here without my judgment on whether you're good or bad or what. Just like a friend. You allow or accept a friend without evaluating their story as being good or bad or judgment or whatever. You just allow. So this non-identification really, it's not like this is like you got to do one or the other. It all happens at once. This just pulls it apart a little bit so you can see the parts of it, but it's all one thing. And the non-identification, as we're looking at it, is really a radical, revolutionary step in consciousness, particularly in the West, because we're conditioned to identify with our thinker, our thinking mind. The famous statue by Rodin of the thinker, right? Right, that's the thinker. What should I do, on or off? Let me think about it. You should think more about that. What do you think? Why do you think that? Think. Everything is built on thought in the West. This was a thought. Everything in here is built on thought. Nothing's built on the room. The room being the space. Now, don't get me wrong about the metaphor of the room. The room is not a space like this is with walls. The room is space with no walls. And in that space with no walls comes the on-off thinker, either or, this or that. And then choice. Well, which do you want? This or that or this? I don't know. I'm not certain. That was Descartes. Now, where is certainty? You see. So everybody wants certainty, so you don't get caught in the wah. I know, you see. But there's no third. Yes.
And in the meditation, you're doing all of those except for inquiring, right?
Inquiry?
When you're meditating, you don't
Now this-
inquire, but you do recognize that you
No,
have thought.
don't confuse. This is like portable meditation. This is on the go, insight meditation that you use when you're washing the dishes and your kid won't do it or whatever. Why do I have to wash the dishes? You know, or you get sick and you say, why me? Or you lose your job and you've been doing everything right, and you get something happens. Or you get a new car and somebody hits it. Or you get all your bills paid and the furnace goes out. I thought I had arrived, you know, and now I'm back under, you know, all this is going on, you see. Now, all these have little, all these contain dukkhas. You see. So so this basically, so this is kind of like an active meditation that you can apply to everyday mind. And see, everyday mind is where we have to work. You're not going to make much progress if you just do meditation in a quiet room and then go back to hell. See, so meditation is heaven, and then you go back to hell and have a fight with your partner or your neighbor, or you get into an anxiety attack, or whatever's going on, or resentment, or a relative, you know, whatever. Yeah.
But if you try to meditate, are these dukkhas what occurs while you're trying to
Yeah.
get to a
Right.
meditational state? There's just all this stuff that.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. When you
That's
sit.
what that.
Yeah.
I
When
think
you
that's
sit.
what she meant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. I understand. Thank you.
but I do understand what you're saying to that everyday occurrences, that you can treat them the same way.
Right. When you sit, I brought up, I didn't bring it with me because it doesn't fit my bag now, but I have a little snow globe with a Buddha in it.
It's gone.
Right, and if you shake it, you shake a snow globe, thoughts are all over the place. And if you just let it sit, this thoughts settle. This is a scientific law, it's called homeostasis. If you let anything that's an enclosed system alone, it will come to rest. So if you put the snow globe on the table, it will come to rest and the water clears. But if you move it, so this is a good metaphor for the mind. When we react to reality, the snow globe moves and thoughts are running all around. When we let go of reaction, we stop and the thoughts settle. And the mind is clear, and that is insight. Insight basically is just clarity of mind. And you know. Before the insight, you don't know. You're on and off. Yeah.
When my husband and I bought our first house, we'd been married at that point maybe 3 years, something like that. And it had a fireplace. And so in the wintertime, we started burning logs. Ashes were piling up, and I'm thinking, okay, what's he gonna do in the fireplace? And the ashes kept piling up, and I was starting to get a little steam, why is he allowing the ashes to pile up, kind of like your toilet? And then, I don't know where it would be on your chart there, but all of a sudden, you need to inquire, like, why isn't he cleaning the fireplace? And then it dawned on me, he and I were raised two different ways. When I was raised, my father took care of the fireplace.
Right.
Always cleaned it. His house, his mother did everything inside the house.
Yeah.
His father did everything outside the house.
Job
So there's two different, we never talked about it. I never said anything to him, and he never said anything to me. He's
Just
probably
understood.
thinking, why is she cleaning the fireplace?
Just understood. That's just the way things are.
So is that what you're talking about, bathroom inside, whenever you realized that there was two different
Yeah, that
things?
would be an insight. You see?
Because once I...
But as long as you identify with the thought, like, why isn't he cleaning the thing? What is he, lazy? What's wrong with him, right?
Mhm.
That you're identifying with the thought and the accompanying story that goes with it. And the emotion. See, the story, thought has a story that holds it. I mean, thinking isn't just floating random thoughts, like dust, or like the flakes in a snow globe. Those are just random thoughts. Now, there's a lot of thoughts that are random like that, but thinking that I identify with is held in place by a story. And the story, you could say, the story of me. And that story is my assumptions about what's real. My assumptions is that the man should clean it. Right? His assumption was, you should. Right? So, I mean, that's a great example, but what you saw there, see, so in the insight that you had, you became the room and you saw this. This is my assumptions. This is his assumptions. You see? If you didn't have that insight, you would be in here knocking up against him for not doing what you expected him to do. And he would be knocking back on you because you're not doing what he expected. Right? So you had cross expectations because you didn't see the whole. So the marriage is the room that holds the two views. And the room then would be love. So without that space of love, you have conflict between two views. And that escalates, wow, until I got to get divorced. See, because neither one could find the space that held the two. Yeah, that's a great example of that. And these are everywhere. I mean, human relationships are built on this, and how to come up with a strategy to keep killing the other people. You see, because this duke up, when you have two opposite yet complementary views, my view and his view, and we're in if you just pass somebody on the street or on Facebook, you don't care what their view is. But if you're married to them, you're in a relationship. So that changes the situation now. Now you probably don't have a dukkha with somebody walking down the street unless they look at you funny. Now you got a little rub on. He rubbed you the wrong way, and that will start one. But most of the time we don't care. Just don't care about it. Well, when we're in a relationship, you see, that changes the game. And now we have rubs, right? And they're always there's a logic to them that we can understand. And each side, you see, has their own story. Your story was the man always took care of that, and his was the wife always did, the woman. And they were just assumptions. Now, there was no inquiry here.
No, we never talked
Yeah,
about
that's
it.
what I mean. There was, because you didn't, it was just assumed. Neither one really realized what was going on. So these rubs go on, and nobody knows why. So the rain works that when you notice the rub, you notice the pain. First of all, you notice it, and then the next thing, allow, is also wait. The pause means, I don't know what the truth is here. I want to know what is the truth? See, if you identify with the thinking, you know what the truth is. It's what your thought says is the truth. And you're off. To change the other person or fix them or get rid of them or fix yourself because, I don't know what to do. He knows. That, whatever the strategy is. But all of these end up in kicking the rub down the road, so it comes back tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. So when we see that we have a repetitive rub going on, we know it's repetitive because it comes back like a rerun, same plot, same characters, but a different situation. Okay? So you watch Everyone Loves Raymond, which I love, and it's the same basic plot that holds the characters, there's the same room that holds the characters together, but each week it's a different situation. So there's a sameness and a differences. So our dukkhas come just like that. There is a differences. I'm looking in the toilet and I see the dirty toilet and I say, why isn't my wife cleaning it? The thought, I didn't say that. The thought came up like something came up out of the toilet. In other words, and by noticing it and allowing it, I flushed it. If you don't recognize it and say and allow it to be, then you become the turd. If you continue if you allow it and say, well, look at that, isn't that interesting? There's this thought, and now once you do that, it begins to reveal itself to you. The story comes to the surface, like an iceberg coming up. It started out with a little ice cube, and you say, wait, what is this? And it begins to come up. And you see your whole life in it. We don't want to see that. So, that's why this practice, this is why this room isn't filled up, you see, with people, because most people don't have the intention to look at reality as it is. We look at it through our story. Yes.
So we had the inquiry. What about the toilet story? What is your inquiry? Why does it come up?
Oh. Good question. All right, so the first two is that there is a gap between my awareness and this thought. You could say it would be like there. And I noticed in the thought was just like a script. It said the thought said, "Why isn't Tilly seeing this and cleaning? Why isn't Tilly cleaning this? Why do I have to?" That I forgot exactly what it was, but it was like a little script. So this non-identification came in there. The inquiry is going on right now. In other words, I didn't stand there and inquire into it. The inquiry means I'm curious. So that kind of like, the inquiry says basically let the thought reveal its truth to me, rather than me applying my truth to it, because if I apply my truth to it, I'm just applying my story. Yeah, my interpretation of it, which is always going to come out from me. You see, so I'm just identifying with the thought. If I don't identify with it, then it's going to reveal its truth to me. If I identify with it, then I have made it my truth. And now I'm resentful. Next time I see my wife, I say something about the toilets, and then she mirrors me, you see. So now we're two mirrors accusing each other of the same thing. And that becomes a wow.
So the next step after non-identification is resolution, insight, whatever you want to call it.
This is its own resolution. I mean, there's no like, oh boy, I get A. In other words, let's see. Well, the first thing that happened, all right, so let's say what are the results or fruits of this? Well, first of all, okay, here's a dukkha, a resentment that I've buried against my neighbor. Somebody did something, somebody in the family. It was never healed. Every time I see them, it's picked again, they bring it up, right? I have built a sad reputation in my family as being a premature thrower-outer. Right? I will throw things out before other people have finished using them or have put them there as a round to it, so they'll get around to it later. And I'm kind of like a monk in the sense that I want order and everything in its place. So if this is sitting here, I won't throw it out. I'll go put it in the dishwasher. And somebody will say, "Where's my glass?" So I built up a reputation of that. So my sister-in-law comes over, wife of my wife's brother. I don't know what she is. We have dinners on Friday night. And so we're all having dinner, and I go in the kitchen, and she'll call out, "Don't throw anything away." And so that is a rub. It's kind of like, well, can't she let the past go? I'm really doing better. Why do you keep hanging this rubber tie around my neck? You see. So that's just a real little thing. So, but I don't. So that I feel the rub, right? But I recognize the rub as just a rub, right? It's just a rub, and then it connects dots. Then dots begin to connect to what I'm describing now. In other words, it just becomes just that, and it doesn't go into anything. It doesn't become anything else. So when it's just that, a little rub, it's okay. This is another word. When you allow a rub, you're basically saying it's okay. So what you're basically saying is, I'm okay. I'm not disturbed and upset and grieved and reactive in all of this story, you see, because of the rub. I just notice the rub, I allow it to be, and it's okay. The tick goes on, it doesn't get on you. You know, if a tick walks across your arm and walks off, fine. But if it stops, you're going to itch for 2 weeks. Okay? So the rub is a tick. If you identify with it, it's going to bite you, and even if you pull it out, I've got some here, it's going to itch for 2 weeks, right? So when you allow the rub to be, you allow the tick to keep on going, and it's gone. And you feel better for it because, this is the other aspect, all of these little dukkha's, resentments, pains, grievances, wounds, negativities, all of these things are vortexes of crystallized or trapped energy. You can't get out, so it's a tape loop. These go into the mind, they're buried there like in a landfill, and when they come up, if they're down there, they're going to come up. So we're going to create a condition where it comes up. And we'll think I'm innocent. Why is that here? But they want to come up. They're like fish. They've got to feed. So they're going to come up in our life, and that's that they are going to create the conditions in which they can come up and either get freed or grow. You see, they come up for that opportunity for us to either release them or reaffirm the grievance, and back they go to come up another day, larger than before.
So are these always an internal rub? Because I'm thinking like, I recognize somebody's getting ready to jump off a bridge. I'm not going to allow that person to do that. I accept it, because that's where I still have that in-between step in my mind, the acceptance. I accept they're getting ready to do that, but I don't allow it, because I stop them from doing it.
Yeah, don't make the leap.
Yeah.
Don't jump off the bridge.
Yeah.
That we're talking about situations like that. This is all internal.
It's all internal.
This
not reacting to thoughts
Yeah.
that your mind has created,
Yeah.
like they're real.
Yes, it's all internal.
This is see here in our culture, in our Western view, we are conditioned to look out. So I look out at you, I look at the building, I can I can fix the building better, the building's fine, maybe we can do a little, in other words, we're looking out and we're trying to fix things or hold things the way they are because they're just right, or trying to fix them so they're better. Most of the time we're trying to fix it so it's better. But we're always trying to achieve perfection or hold it. And we can't because life is changing. See? But the internal, what's going on inside, we have no idea. We have no maps. If we go to a therapist, he's going to look at us objectively. So he's going to look at us from his textbook. Well, let me see, she's got this pathology or this thing here. And I studied about that and did a workshop on that. So you got this neurosis, you see. So now I'm looking at you objectively, and I figured out you've got this I've named you with a particular neurosis. You've got a compulsive, obsessive compulsive disorder, right? So now I've named it, right? It's a neurosis. We can fix that. Okay, so I'm looking at you like a machine, and you got a wobble, and I got a manual over here, according to whatever school I went to. I got a manual that describes the malady, and I can fix it. And you can take this medication or this medication and do this for 2 weeks, whatever. Or go do this yoga, or something, but you do this to fix the wobble. But that's all external. You're not fixing the wobble. You see, the mechanic's going to do it. It's like a car. I can't fix the car, but the mechanic will fix it. So the medical system looks at us like that, you know, in the sense that they're looking at us with an objective view. What this is doing, this teaching, is making our subjective interior world objective. You see? So I'm learning, we have to learn how to do this experientially. You can't get it out of a textbook. You can get it out of a textbook, but you have to do it. See, so the seeing is in the doing. The seeing is not in the believing. So Christianity gets into the thing, well, if you just believe this, everything will work. Well, this is not belief.
So you're trying to train your logical mind to overcome your emotional mind?
No, there's no training of one half of the mind to get the other half. It is the training to look for the minefields in our own, look for the mind. People go to Iraq, they become very sensitive to stuff on the road, right? Because that looks like a tin can, it might be the top of a bomb. You know, so you become very sensitive. I'm very sensitive in the house because our poodle poops. You know, so the poodle poops. So you become very sensitive for poodle poop. You just don't walk around like this. So it keeps dementia away. So you become sensitive. So this practice, and if you just do meditation with the intention to do the practice, 20 minutes a day, if you've got, 20 minutes in the morning or at night or once a day, that takes effort to begin with, but just doing that will begin to activate the process, and it begins to tell you what to do. Another good analogy is if you've got a truck, and I remember once there was a guy had a really powerful truck and behind me, my neighbor, and it rained a lot, so the ground was really wet, and his back tires were stuck, and he had a big engine, and he was just gunning that sucker. Like, my power was going to get me out. But his power was digging it down deeper. So the more he tried to get out, the deeper the truck went. Okay? So this is what this practice is doing. It's saying that the more you try to get out of a dukkha, the deeper you're going to get into the dukkha.
If you allow it.
But if you try to get out of your dukkhas, again, this is your little pain traps, right? The effort to get out of them makes them worse. So you come to the place on this path where you realize you are helpless, you can't get out of it. That opens up this. Because if I'm looking in the toilet again, and I see the thought, of this little grievance, that I have to clean off the toilet, like Cinderella, then that is a grievance that is part of a larger story. It just didn't appear all at once, right? But there it is, and I'm up here, and it's way down here, you see. And I can see it like I just pulled a fish out of the water. It's wiggling, right? I'm not the fish, but I can see it. You see? So that is a revolutionary shift. And you can't make that happen. See, so it happens as a result of the intention to practice, the intention to see this. See, so this has nothing to do with belief or anything. It has everything to do with the seeing along the way. you go for a walk in the woods. If you are present in the woods, you see stuff. If you're not, you're thinking about what you're going to do when you get home from the woods, or where you were before you got in the woods. Or you're listening to something got something plugged into your ear. But if you're present, then you are just noticing everything. There's no me there. When you are present, you are the room. So you really are just awareness. You're just aware. And then you may focus on something. And then once you focus on something, the rest of the field drops away, and all you see is that. And then you become curious in that. But usually what happens when we do that, we become curious about what its name is. Or what kind of, most people will, they go bird watching or flower watching or whatever, and the way they do it is they want to build their knowledge of the woods. So they see something, oh, we haven't seen that before, what is that? Well, I think that's this, and then you get out the books and you find out what that thing is, and now I know what it is. Now that's certain, I know what that is, I've included it in my knowledge world. What else is new? That's no longer interesting. So, because now I named it, put it in the book, close the door, what else is new? Oh, look at that, we haven't seen that before, what is that? Well, I think that's the yada yada this, yada yada. So basically most people go like that, you see. But to hold and not focus and try to name everything is just to be aware of the field is an entirely different way of being than it is to focus and name everything and pin everything down to our knowledge of the known. See, there's a known, unknown. If it's known, I can think about it. Because thinking is about what I know. It's in the dictionary. Words. Names. Naming everything. If you name it, you know it. If you don't know it, then there's a big, what is the name of that thing? We go through all the crossword puzzles. Or, I can't remember that person's name. Who was that movie star? We go nuts because that person is out here. We can't stand for anything to be here. We gotta bring it. Oh, I remember his name. Now I know it. So there's a tension between the known and the unknown. We don't want anything to be here. We want to get everything up into the known where it's certain. I certainly know that this is a water fountain, right? You might say, well, it's a vodka fountain. Right? Or somebody else might come in here from Africa or something, and they might, say, well, you use that in the desert, or I don't know, whatever. In other words, everything. But that's getting off. But the point is, then we'll get into an argument of what is it? Well, I say it's this or that. But I think the point we're working on here is that to remain with the unknown requires letting go of the need to know. So if I'm standing here and I see the thought of that my wife should be doing the toilet, why isn't she doing it? If I allow the unknown, see, allowing is allowing the unknown, which means I don't know what the meaning of that is. So that's when that's the pause. You notice the pain, but you don't know what the meaning of it is. If you know what the meaning of it is, then it's part of your story. You see? So if I don't know if I pause, I'm just allowing myself not to know what that means, and then its meaning reveals itself to me in unexpected ways. See, this is called revealed truth. If I know what it is, I'm applying the truth. But then I've limited it to my definition. This is only and forever and absolutely a water flask. You can't use this for vodka. See? Because that's not its definition. So this is a fundamentalist view of reality, right? Everything has exact categories. You see? So this kind of like shatters our fundamentalism in believing everything should be exactly what we see it is and believe it to be. We create a pause, and life through that begins to reveal itself to be much greater than we thought it to be. And we leave the situation with the certainty that I'm okay. So that's the fruit. Before, there's the certainty that I don't think I'm okay because I'm confused. I got either or, I got grievances, this person should have done that, I didn't do that, yada yada. There's a lack of oneness and certainty. When I go through this process, I come out with the feeling of oneness. Because what's been affirmed is not the on-off light switch of thinking in me who thinks. What's been affirmed is the space of awareness that includes the known and the unknown, and the either and the or. So that affirms the awareness, and that is our identity. We are not things defined in the Bible or the book or the dictionary or the encyclopedia. So we are not defined. We are we're the unborn. You know, you look at this conflict between abortion and all, you know, and, this is kind of like, to me, this is a metaphor for an interior blueprint. See, exteriorly, there would be the either or between protecting the unborn or pro-life or pro-choice. But they use the unborn a lot, right? So this is an either or, the on-off switch that goes back and forth. See, on-off means that both sides, on-off means I see an on-off, good or bad, and the person that I'm in a relationship with also sees an on-off, and it's reversed. See, so when you see the on-off, this is clarifying a little bit. This is a dual way of switch. This is a four-way switch. I see, from my view, there's on, which is good, and off, which is bad. So I just want to have it on all the time. You just want to have him clean the fireplace, right? He looks at you and he says, I'm on, she's off. She should clean the fireplace. So it's reversed. So that means, so an abortion thing, just to give a thing, that's like there's, for one side, you're right, on is no abortion, off is abortion. For the other side, on is abortion, off is no abortion. So it just goes back and forth because it's the same switch. So the unknown holds the on-off of the good and bad because there's no definition in the unknown. So the unknown is unborn. The unborn means no definition. Don't know what it is. I mean, you can say physically it's a fetus and all that, but we're talking metaphorically. Right? So unborn means not defined. Okay? So when something is born, it takes a form, and now it has a name, and it enters the known. And we got a personality and a story and all that, you see. But the unborn is always present. The rum is present whether the light switch is on or off. So the rum is the unborn, or the unknown, and the light switch is on, off, good, bad, up, down, in, out, right, left, me, you. See? Back and forth. Surrounding it is the unknown, or the space, or awareness. Okay? So this whole practice reverses the direction. So we want to go there, and we want to allow, because what this is potential. Unknown, unborn is potential. It can be anything. See? So we want to release the potential. So life, then, life is potential. Free energy. Joy. So we want to release it. Because the known is known and it's now boring. What else is new? Everything's locked up. Everything's secure and certain, crystallized, and holding its own. So now the known holds the fort against the changing unknown. You see, and I become a conservative. So I protect the known against change, which is unknown, which is scary. You see. But this is all larger scale, but what we're really looking at and interested in is our own little nitty-gritty, personal, mundane lives where we just wash the dishes and go to the store. And that's where the treasure is. Because that's where you can find the dukkha's and not be in some crisis where you can't deal with it. It's like, finding little gemstones in your backyard, or little poodle poops in your rug. The little poodle poop is the dukkha that is just a fact. See, the poodle, yeah.
So the dukkha separates us from our oneness, say.
Yeah.
So,
Because dukkha's got me in it.
right.
It's all about me.
So when a rub comes up in your life, you're saying that at some, we're all hoping that at some point in our life we are aware we're in one, in the present. And when do we get to that point where the dukkhas don't come as often as they do right now? When they start to come to us? I mean, is that ever, is it
Well,
something?
yeah, okay, well, here's the unhappy news is that when you begin this practice, you're going to increase the dukkha's, the rubs, because your mind will become more sensitive. Before, you might just bypass it, steamroll it, stomp it down, go on, tough guy, you see. Now you become more, your mind becomes more feminine, more sensitive. You see, more interested in the movements around, like shopping. Men go shopping, I got one thing in mind, you go there and get that sucker and get out. And then he waits for the wife and she's roaming all around talking to people and picking this up and putting it down. And this would be nice, but I can't use that now. And pick up this and imagine a whole recipe with it, And he's out there, just go in and shoot the thing and bring it home. Don't hunt and gather it. See, don't be a gatherer. Just go shoot it and bring the damn thing home. Okay? So that sensitivity begins to happen. The next thing is that you realize that your liberation is found in the pain. So you begin to welcome it. That's the switch. We're trained to avoid this stuff. Drink it away, drug it away, avoid it, repress it, blame it. something. It's not me, I'm innocent, it's something doing it to me, you see. So that's our conditioning. This flips that, you see. So now, what do you mean welcome? Well, you can correlate this to Jesus with the cross, where he went to the cross joyously, he went to the cross allowing it to happen. He didn't go, well, I don't want to go, don't pull me in, I don't want to hang here. In other words, the whole thing about the cross is that he engaged it joyously, although he did physically. It wasn't like, aha, it stuck me again. I mean, there was the suffering, but he didn't suffer because he was not attached. He didn't identify with it. See? So the whole thing about Jesus and the cross is that this was a big rub, a big dukkha, but he didn't identify with it because he identified with the Christ, which is awareness. So he watched the stuff going on, like I watched the thought. Right? So he hangs on the cross and goes through that whole process, but he's not identified with it because that's what the Christ means, right? The way I understand, that's what the Christ means, is that it is a timeless awareness. That is equivalent to the unborn. So the unborn, the timeless awareness that is deathless, Buddha calls it the deathless state. It means like that when you identify with thought, well then you're in a death state. Because thought's going to, thought is me. And me's going to die. But the awareness that doesn't identify with me is deathless.
What is the iron cow on the 100-foot pole?
Well, we didn't get to that, did we? We'll do that next week. That's a Zen cone that I was going to refer to something else. But how does an iron cow on a 100-foot pole give birth to a calf? Well, obviously, it's a puzzle. It's an unsolvable puzzle. Logic cannot penetrate it. But if you go through this process, then it reveals itself to you rather than you trying to figure it out. So to figure that out, but I don't want to get into that. Okay, this has been very nice, but remember this week, remember Raymond, and start looking for some dukkhas in your life, whether it's in a traffic light, or whether it's at a shopping, or whether it's watching TV. Somebody comes up and says, you should be outraged, and suddenly you're outraged. That's a dukkha. Right? You're sitting in your calm living room, and all of a sudden you're agitated. Where'd that come from?
News, TV news.
Right. So this is, TV is inducing dukkhas, so you will watch it to get relief, but they never relieve you of it. Okay, thank you all so much.
Tune in next week, it'll get worse.
Right. Always.